Ladies and gents, boys and girls, welcome on in. This is the Overtime Drive, SEC Unfiltered SEC football show, the best SEC football show on the internet. It is Thursday, which means it's time for Pick'em. Week 2 is officially upon us, and if it's anything like Week 1, buckle up, strap in. It's going to be a wild ride. Once again, guys, I appreciate you all tuning in. I am Chris Phillips, as always, joining me, Cole the Bear Thompson. We have got a jam-packed show locking in each and every single pick for all 15 SEC contests this weekend. Before we get rolling, obviously, guys, as always, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications, check us out via podcast, where we get your podcast. You can also find us across all social media platforms, as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. And as always, we are powered by our friends over at FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com/SECU to join today and get started with $250 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. Once again, that's FanDuel.com/SECU to get $250 in bonus bets today. Week 2 of the SEC football season is officially upon us. It is Thursday here on the Overtime Drive, which means it's time for us to lock in our picks for each and every single game. Week 2 SEC Pick'em with yours truly. I am Chris Phillips, and joining me, as he always does, my co-host, my colleague, my partner in crime, and one of the hardest working gentlemen in the entire business, Cole the Bear Thompson, joins the show. Bear, what's going on, man? Appreciate you taking the time. Excited to lock in some picks with you for week number 2.
We have a new title for Cole the Bear Thompson starting today. We have a new entry coming onto the show today. I'm now Uncle Cole. Tio Cole has arrived. My brother, my sister-in-law welcomed in a little girl today. First baby in the family, Emily Reese Thompson. Just remember, you can always chase your dreams. You can always go after your goals. You can always accomplish anything with hard work, determination, and a little bit of sheer damn luck. But I hopefully get to teach you these lessons along the way. Welcome, little cub, to the Bear Den. Welcome, Tio Cole, ready to rock.
Are you Unc now?
No, I'm going by Tio. No, so my sister-in-law is my sister-in-law is Spanish, so it actually works. So Tio Cole, very excited. I'm going to be the whitest Tio of all time, and I'm very content with it. I'm Irish. She's Mexican. We got it all together. Spanish. Cannot wait.
Well, Bear, congratulations to you and the entire Bear family. No, the Thompson family. Obviously, congrats to you all. Very, very awesome. Really special. That's awesome. That's really cool. What's some other things that are happening right now before we get into our picks? Again, this is going to be a wild and wacky weekend for sure. I look like I'm leading a fishing charter. I know that, by the way, for those who are watching live or who are seeing this via YouTube. I've got the Montana hat on. I've got the shirt that, again, it just looks like I'm about to go in the river somewhere. Also, Bear, we were talking about this when we got going. I feel like I need to announce to the audience, and obviously this weekend we are headed to Norman, Oklahoma to take on Oklahoma, Michigan. My first time ever in the great state of Oklahoma. Will be in the state of Texas later this season. Why do I bring that up? Well, Bear, I did something on Wednesday. First time ever in my entire life, and shame on me it took so long, I finally bought my first ever pair of cowboy boots. So I'm ready to go for this trip. I even bought some new jeans to go with it. I'm taking this seriously. So
did you get the jeans that would work with the boots? Did they get the cut?
Well, I just wanted some new jeans. I just wanted some. I wanted to freshen up the look, kind of upgrade. It had been a long time since I really bought new jeans, so I went all out with that. But the boots are obviously the main thing here.
Yeah.
They are the focal point. Really excited. And yes, I did go. By the way, I know we say no free ads, but low-key side note, we're maybe working on getting a partnership with these folks at some point down the road. I did go with Tecovas. I know there are boot snobs out there who will judge me for that, but that is okay. They're damn comfy too, by the way. So shout out to them. Love them. You'll see them obviously probably on social media or whatever. But yeah, it took me long enough, Bear. Finally. Now I feel like now I've kind of reached a new level of SEC fandom, or at least I'll be welcome in the state of Texas now. And I live in Nashville, so it's outrageous that I just got them.
You'll be welcome to the state of Texas. We'll go with that right now. Yeah. But let's wait to see how much further with the SEC fandom we go ahead and get you with.
The next thing on the list is a cowboy hat.
Yeah,
So.
see, you'll never catch me dead in one of those things. And that's just because the way it fits around my head. I know they can be custom made. I know that they could easily be
I think
nice.
I've got the hair for it, man. I got the hair.
My big thing is this: it does not look good. I don't know if it's my facial structure. I don't. It's like, again, I wear the frontwards hat. There's something about it that looks fine, not great. Wear a backwards hat. Something looks fresh. Something looks nice. Jawline perfectly symmetrical with it. Cowboy hat. Yeah.
We need to go to Austin or College Station, or heck, Norman too, but probably Austin or College Station, you and I both. We need to get like custom SEC Unfiltered belt buckles. We need the cowboy boots. I need you in a cowboy hat, the whole nine. We need to
if I'm
fully embrace the culture, man.
Listen, I will bring my black boots. I will wear jorts. I will wear a cutoff shirt. You throw a cowboy hat on, it'll be just like College Circus 2016 in Alabama.
Completely throws off the.
I will not fit in at all, but I will also gladly fit right in. You will have no idea.
Fair enough. Well, Bear, that being said, I'm entering my cowboy era, I think. So we'll see how that goes. But at minimum, I've got the boots. We're set. I will fit in this weekend, I believe, in Norman, Oklahoma. Looking forward to it. But on that note, week 2, and I know, and Bear, I think you did a great job, probably better than anybody else last year, of sort of encapsulating this from the standpoint of, not every slate is built equally. I just will never forget you going on your rant of, hey, you might say this is some sleepy slate, or it's an underrated slate, or there's not a bunch of great games or headline games, or right. Like, we all have those weekends where like people are like, oh, I had some buddies earlier this week. They're traveling to Denver actually for the Titans game. They're like, oh, I won't miss anything with college football. There aren't any good games. And I'm like, Cole the Bear Thompson would be ready to run through a wall and give them the sermon of all sermons, because how dare you sleep on this slate? This is typically when we get the most madness. This is when we typically get it. So I don't know if you can recreate that, but I know I just will never forget you from last year being like, how dare you? How dare you sleep on this slate of games?
Listen, and there we go. Listen, everyone remembers what happened right after the Alabama victory against Georgia. We didn't talk about anything because you want to know why? What was there to talk about that day? Oh, you got Alabama versus Vanderbilt. Oh, Alabama's going to go upstairs and they're going to go knock on the door against the team in Nashville, and they're not going to have to worry about it. And Diego Pavia is going to get humbled in this point. And then we watch as the Cumberland River was filled to the brim with the beauty that once was a thing that we call a goalpost that was torn down at First Bank Stadium, and we heard the magical words, Vanderbilt, we're effing turret, with Alyssa Lang on the sideline, because we saw the upset of all upsets. And mere hours later, Chris Phillips, that was just a footnote in the storyline of college football, because we watched as a top 5 Tennessee squad, a Tennessee roster built to make a run toward the college football playoff. And maybe this be the year they finally go back to Atlanta, take on a little Willie Nilly Arkansas team that was thinking about firing their head coach. And Sam Pittman, we didn't know if he was going to survive that much longer. And lo and behold, that $4 million quarterback, that guy that they don't know how to say his name anymore, and they curse it in Knoxville, watched him run out of bounds as the clock struck 0. And there go the Hogs, cascading onto Donald Razorback Stadium field, and they're excited, and they're lifting up their coach, and people are tearing down the atmosphere of what is that game. And it was a sleeper. It was a snoozer. It was supposed to be a weekend that we all forgot about. That is not the way that we act. Week 2, watch as we get a battle in the border war. Watch as we get down to the finish line between Michigan and, of course, against the likes of one Oklahoma. But also watch as Long Island's old team, the one that they just faced off against, one Mr. Florida, has its fair share of struggles with South Florida. Watch as ULM marches into, please don't do that. Please do not watch in the Brad Denny Stadium make this a game. But still, watch that be interesting. Watch something go wrong at Auburn. Watch something go wrong down in Knoxville. Watch something go wrong down in Athens, GA. It's the weekends that you never prepare for are the ones you talk about the most in the offseason. This has the recipe to be one of those weekends. I don't think it happens, but never say never in the world of college football. One thing that I will always teach you, wise words from the Bear. When you least expect it, that's when it strikes.
It kind of reminds me, Bear, and I don't know what this will say about me, but it kind of reminds me of those nights when you go out and you're like, yeah, we're going to take it easy tonight. Nothing crazy. Just keep it low key. Those are the nights that get the most rowdy and are the most memorable. That's kind of like what this slate reminds me of. So like you said, Hopefully not for the SEC, but we will see. On that note, let's pull up this slate of games and our official Pick'em Bear as we get into week 2 of the SEC football slate and our Pick'em. And for those watching, whether you're on YouTube, you're watching this airing live on Twitter, on Facebook. Obviously, if you're listening on podcast, you've probably seen this graphic at this point. Bear, we agree on a lot, but we're going to run through each and every single one of these games. Obviously, like we said, there are a lot of non-conference shows. We do have an SEC game, by the way, but a lot of non-conference showdowns where either SEC teams are going to be looking to continue to build momentum and move to 2-0, or some teams looking to bounce back, 2 in particular, Texas and Alabama. And on that note, Bear, let's start with the game in Austin, Texas. Texas takes on San Jose State in Austin. We're both obviously going with Texas here. I think the big thing to watch for, it's simply Arch Manning, right? That's what it comes down to, him getting in a rhythm. We saw him tear up this level of competition last year. So, he could go out there and throw for 500 yards, right? Like, what is it really going to, what conclusions can you draw? Like, what is it really going to mean? But you'd rather him do that than not do that, right? Because you have 3 of these in a row, a bye week, and then obviously that game at Florida, which will be his next big test. Again, both picking Texas. I don't think it'll be close. The spread is 36.5 points. Now, Bear, I actually placed a bet. It wasn't one of my official plays. I did place a bet on Texas because I think they're going to want to go out there. I think they're going to want to go score a lot. I'm curious the wide receiver position, too, who kind of emerges on the outside. And we just didn't get to see him featured at all in the Ohio State game. But I think it's going to be a lot of offensive fireworks. I think Sark's going to get in his bag, Arch get comfortable, and I think the horns are going to roll.
My big thing is just I look at Texas straight up, and I think that this is going to be a matchup where what we saw last week for a lot of teams, the Oklahomas of the world, the Georgias of the world, where they were able to kind of get their footing. They were able to show this is who we are as a real program. We're not going to go be tested week 1. Instead, we're going to go ahead and get that tune-up game. Make sure that we're mentally, physically, mightily prepared for what will be regular season matchups, non-conference matchups, divisional rivals, whatever it is. We're going to set the tone. That's what you get in Texas. You're going to see wide receivers win at the line of scrimmage. You're going to see the defense still be potent as all hell. They're going to force a lot of takeaways. They're going to force a lot of 3-and-outs. And you're going to watch Arch Manning, I think, feel a bit more comfortable. Let's just call a spade a spade. It's challenging to make your first real start. Last season, he started 2 games. It was against San Jose State, if I'm not mistaken. And it was against Louisiana Monroe, if I'm not mistaken. And it was against Mississippi State. Those were 2 teams that did nothing the rest of the year. And he filled in the UTSA game, but bygones be bygones on that. Your next start is on the road in a top 5 hostile environment against a top 5 defense who also is the reigning national champions and has a defense that is not going to make your offense move at all. Best of luck to you, filled with all the hype. It was a bad game. I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat it. It was a horrendous game if you look at it from the standpoint of Arch Manning. Just him single-handedly. But this is why we play the games, to let you be able to hit reset, learn, grow, adapt, and make changes. So I think that we're going to feel much more confident in Arch and who he is. But you and I have talked about this many a time. It doesn't matter this game. It doesn't matter the next game. It really doesn't matter for the next 3 weeks. Next time we're really going to see Arch Manning have the opportunity to test himself is going down to Gainesville, facing off hand-in-hand with DJ Lagway, be able to put really Texas back on the map as a premier program and start to get ready for the Red River Shootout. That's going to be a week later. So I don't worry about this game. I think the over hits. I think that easily Texas covers the spread. I think that you will see wide receivers make plays left and right. This is going to be a good game to get Arch back into the saddle as one of the big quarterbacks in the sport.
Bear, the other team in the state of Texas. Let's move to the next game, Texas A&M, Utah State. We are both going with the Aggies, A&M minus 31.5 in this football game. Probably biggest storyline. This is your final tune-up before next week. I believe it is next week, correct?
It's next week.
You take on Notre Dame in South Bend, obviously a high-profile non-conference matchup. Coming out of the UTSA game, which, again, give the Roadrunners a lot of credit. That is a really, really solid G5 program. But you'd like to see the rush defense get shored up, continue to see Marcel Reed play well. I do think both of those things probably happen. You got to think rushing defense is going to be a high priority in this football game. And even if they don't make much improvements, I don't know that Utah State can really do much of anything against the Texas A&M Aggies defense. So, again, of course, both of us going with A&M to win this football game.
There's a couple things I want to see. I think that you want to get a little bit more comfortable with the rushing attack in this game. It was interesting to see Texas A&M put a lot of emphasis on their passing attack. And by the way, Marcel Reed looked good. He had several bad throws or throws that you probably want back just because of timing purposes, but nobody's complaining when you have 4 touchdowns on the day. I think that when it comes to the fact that he was also your leading rusher, when you have the backfield that you do, you want to be able to know that you got that second punch. The other thing is, and I brought this up on the preview, it has nothing to do with this matchup. Utah State had its fair share of struggles against UTEP. And Bronco Mendenhall gets his first win back in the Beehive State. I think Utah State could be a really intriguing team in the Mountain West, but it's all about stopping the run. Last week, A&M had its far fair share of struggles, especially on the explosive plays with Robert Henry Jr. He averaged 11.2 yards a play, 2 touchdowns. I think he had 3 runs of over 40 yards downfield. He's a good running back. He is a great G5 running back. You're going up against 2 of the best running backs in college football next week in Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price. And those are 2 guys that play off of each other with speed and strength. So the bottom line is that if you can't stop the run against a guy like we talked about a second ago, Robert Henry, and you can't stop Utah State, that gives an identity for Notre Dame on what to expect on how to beat you. And they didn't do it on Sunday when they went up against Miami. For some reason, Jeremiah Love and Jadarian Price finished with under 20 combined carries. But you want to be able to, I think, show you don't win the football against us. If you want to beat us, you beat us through the year. You beat us through the likes of CJ Carr having to step on up in his second nature start. I think that, again, this is going to be a very easy game for A&M to control the tempo, the line of scrimmage. I just want to see those minute little things take the step forward. Oh, and by the way, if Marcel Reed ends up throwing for another 250 yards and 4 touchdowns, nobody's complaining. In fact, if you're in College Station, you're feeling mighty good about where your quarterback position is.
Bear, let's go to Knoxville, Tennessee. The Tennessee Volunteers host East Tennessee State. Of course, we are both going with Rocky Top. There is no spread in this game. Good opportunity probably for Tennessee to rest up a little bit. They're banged up in their secondary right now pretty severely. We saw in week 1 against Syracuse, they got the win, struggled a lot in the back end of the defense, but a chance to go out, beat up on somebody, but also I think, Bear, rest your football team with Georgia looming, coming to Knoxville next weekend.
Well, I mean, let's see a little bit more from the wide receiver room, like a couple of other guys besides Braylon Staley stepping on up. Let's see what you get with Mike Matthews. Let's see what you get with Chris Brazel involved with the passing attack. Let's see what you got in that secondary. Because remember, you're going to be without Jamon McCoy, and there's somebody else who I know is out for this game against Georgia next week in their secondary. I'm blanking on who it is at the top of my head, but this means that you're going to have to trust your depth in this matchup. You're going to want to see, what do you have at safety? What do you have at corner? You know, Colton Hood had that big fumble recovery for a touchdown against Syracuse on Saturday. Who else is out there that can make that step? It's not a game you're sitting here and like kind of looking back and wondering, well, what could happen for this to go sideways? Well, what could happen is Tennessee doesn't show up and, you know, it's a forfeit. Like, they literally don't show up. The bus breaks down on the way to Neyland, and there is like a ravenous bear that comes and tries to attack the bus, and they're like, we can't play today. We're too mentally unready after the environment that we just had to deal with. So here you go, East Tennessee State. Like that's the only way I see them losing this game. It's more so what does the depth behind you look like in this matchup, I think. And again, when you have no spread, that kind of says all you need to know about the team.
A wild, ravenous bear, not our bear, by the way, just to clarify. Ole Miss traveling to Kentucky. Bear, you and I both previewed and predicted this game. I highly encourage you guys, go check out all the previews for all of these games. We've locked in our predictions for each, but we talked about this one, Bear. We talked about this on the overtime drive on Monday night when we locked in our best bets. You and I, not only are we both picking Ole Miss, we are both taking Ole Miss to cover the spread, minus 10.5. And Bear, I still feel really good about that pick. I think Lane Kiffin and the Rebels will roll in this football game.
I see a lot of Kentucky fans coming for us in the preview video and that we didn't give them enough praise. Folks, I'm going to be completely honest. I know I didn't give you enough praise. You didn't warrant it, at least when it comes to the Zach Calzada stuff. If I looked at Tucker Gleason and I said a little bit too facetious on him getting a late touchdown, well, that also means that your defense in a close game that had the 10-point differential in the spread allowed them to get the backdoor cover. That's a negative. That's not a compliment. It's not he just found a way to kind of make this thing interesting late. You're right, he did. So that's still a negative. I think that your defense is good. I think that your defense is going to eliminate some of the elements that makes Ole Miss a very dangerous offensive personnel. I think that you are going to get after Austin Simmons in the first half, but there's 4 quarters of football played. So when you set the tone in the first half, it's like the 5 stages of grief. When you go through that emotion, first half is really good. Second half, you start to realize it's setting on in. Third half is, okay, oh my God, this is really happening. And fourth half is just waving the white flag of defeat. Lane Kiffin's not losing this game because Lane Kiffin can't afford to lose this game for his mindset purposes. Nothing else. It all has everything to do with just the mentality of playing against the competition where on paper you're better than, but on-field product has got to meet the standard as well. So that's where we're at when it comes to this game. I think that Kentucky could be a very, very fun roster this year if the offense starts to pick on up. But I can tell you who's already a fun roster. Ole Miss. And I don't doubt that this is the one game where Lane is like, run it up. I don't care. I genuinely, there will be a game against Tulane, and if they're winning by 25, he may start to go ahead and ease the brakes. He won't do that against Mark Stoops because of this game last year cost them a spot in the college football playoff. And before the Kentucky fans say, well, what about the Florida game? Go back and listen to the preview. I called out Jackson Dart for throwing 3 interceptions in the second half. I will gladly do it right now. That game messed up as well. But this was the one that basically said, you mess up one more time, you're done.
This was the more inexcusable, no doubt.
Far and away was the more inexcusable.
Far and away more inexcusable. So revenge on the mind for the Rebels. We're both going with the Rebels. Going to Athens, Georgia. Georgia taking on Austin Peay. Not a lot to say in this one. Like you said, there's no spread in this game. When there's no spread, you kind of understand. There's no fun backdoor cover bet for me to bet on this week with Georgia being a big favorite. Georgia. They win. They roll. Gunnar Stockton continues to build confidence. And really just it's a game to set you up and tune you up for what comes next week on Rocky Top.
I think that the most Georgia fans just want to see more consistency with the pass attack for Gunnar Stockton. He had 2 rushing touchdowns. He had 2 passing touchdowns, but he was 14 of 24 for 190 yards. You want to build that continuity in the passing game. I think that you want to see more from Zachariah Branch. You want to see more from what you got in the tight end room with Oscar Delp. You want to see a little bit more from some of your other receivers, like maybe an Elias Williams, who's also a tight end, or Colby Young getting more involved. Or you look at Chauncey Bowens, or you look at London Humphreys. Whoever you got to look at to get just to be that extra weapon, that's what you want. Because the defense is going to be the defense. They're going to get after this Governor's front line. Just find more continuity. But no, I'm not worried about this game. I mean, once again, when there's no spread for a reason.
Yeah, Dogs will win. They will win big in this one. And let's go to Columbia, Missouri, the border war. This is going to be one of the most fun games of the weekend, not just in the SEC, but all of college football. You and I talked about this in the preview. It is games like this with the emotions and the hatred and the toxicity. This is why we love college football, a rivalry renewed over a decade in the making. We need to play this yearly. This should be on the schedule yearly for both. We get it this year. Missouri is a 6.5-point favorite. I know I'm taking Mizzou minus 6.5. You're taking MIZ, I believe. Are you taking them to cover as well?
I'm taking them to cover as
You're
well.
taking them to cover. We both got Missouri winning. We both have Missouri covering in this football game. MIZ wins the border war.
I'm also taking a few other bets in this game. So for starters, I think that one of the key elements in this matchup is going to be the rushing yards from the quarterback. And so I look at Bo Pabula. I am taking with plus 30 rushing yards at minus 225 on FanDuel right now that he is going to have to be successful. I'm also taking plus 200 in passing yards at plus 114 for Jalen Daniels. These are 2 of my favorite picks of the week because if you tell me that we get a quarterback that is able to utilize his legs and it becomes one of the main elements on third down that turns a 3rd and 8 into a first down, I think that Bo Pabula could get the job done. And I talked about this in the preview. The thing that I wonder about for Jalen Daniels is if you can keep him in the pocket, is this going to be a matchup that feels one-sided? Because I look at Jalen Daniels, he is going to have to be, I think, the player that is the biggest X factor on either side of the football. How much are you asking of him to get the job done? And he can make plays. Like, I believe that there are some design runs that he is really good at. I believe that he is a good improvisationalist. But the thing is that when you have to keep him in the pocket, he can't do those little things. So I want to see if this defense can get after him. I think if they will, I think they're going to force him in the pocket. I think this is a 4-quarter battle because it's the border war. This is a matchup that we cannot wait, and I am all for having on our television screens year in and year out. But personally, I do think that these are two of the better player props that you can make on FanDuel.com right now.
Yeah, one of the must-see games in the SEC on Saturday. There is no doubt.
I'll just say college football.
And college football. Yeah, on the college football slate. I agree. Bear, let's go to Gainesville, Florida. Sneaky game down there in Gainesville after what USF did in week 1 against Boise State. Florida Gators take on the South Florida Bulls. Florida is a 17.5-point favorite in this game. We are both going with Florida. It's an intriguing matchup, but I talked to you about this in the preview. I think maybe we're making a little much of it. I'm also just a believer in Florida, not just DJ Lagway, but what they have outside of him as well. Your thoughts on this game? Again, you're picking Gators, but thoughts on this ball game as a whole?
I went back and watched a little bit of the LIU game, and there were some things that were a bit concerning for Florida. I think the offensive line was good. I think that they certainly allowed a little bit of pressure that you didn't like. I think that, again, you also look at the overall presence of DJ Lagway, who had a little bit of rust to wear out off because of the entire offseason, that there's a lot to wonder about if South Florida starts off hot. Could they at least make this interesting? Because I love Byron Brown. Chaz Ninrob is a good wide receiver. They have some explosivity in that backfield. Again, they had their lead running back only had like 5 carries, and he had three rushes of over 20 yards. What I wonder about in this game is that if USF makes this close, does somehow Florida shoot itself in the foot? I don't think that's going to happen. I think Florida is going to win this game. But I said in the preview, I think Florida covers. I'm actually going to flip it. And I think that South Florida at plus 17.5 is a really, really, really good bet. This may be a game where in the fourth quarter, you start to watch as Florida pulls away. They easily coast their way to a victory. And it doesn't feel like this game is ever in jeopardy, but the betting line is still going to lean it. All right, 2.5 touchdowns. Maybe we get a late score by Byron Brown to make this interesting.
A little backdoor cover, says the Bear. I like it. I like it. Bear, let's go to Little Rock, Arkansas for the last time ever, supposedly, because this is the last Little Rock game for the Arkansas Razorbacks, and they will host an in-state foe, that being the Arkansas State Red Wolves. The Hogs are a 22.5-point favorite in this game. You and I both going with Arkansas to win, and you've got Arkansas covering as well, drinking all that Talon Green Kool-Aid, buying all that Talon Green stock you can get your hands on.
Listen, as another program that calls the Red Wolves our mascot at Thompson Tech, we appreciate what Butch Jones is doing out in Jonesboro. We do. It's great that he is representing that logo, that brand, that Wolfpack mentality, the way that we have here down at TTU. We very much love it. But Talon Green is going to make me do some dirty things and make some very, very lucrative bets this year. I am hammering his over. I believe if you look at the line right now, it is at plus 280 at 300 passing yards. I think he hits it. I am taking 2+ touchdowns. I am easily going on over to FanDuel.com/SECU and building a parlay with a lot of these player props because the way he looked against Alabama A&M, and remember, he put himself on the map last year against Arkansas Pine Bluff when they played in Little Rock. There's something about that environment. There's something about that magnitude. There's something about just that stadium that says it's the Talon Green experience. Welcome on in, ladies and gentlemen. You're here to see number 10 and nobody else. I think that's why they're going to cover. I'm taking a lot of the player props when it comes to Talon Green in this game.
Final Little Rock game. There aren't a lot of people down there in Fayetteville that are all that upset about that, but still, it is something notable. Final one for everybody with the Hogs. South Carolina State, Bear. We wrote taking the Gamecocks. Again, not a lot to really dive into here. I think the question is just how long does Lenoris Sellers play? I don't think he probably finishes this ball game. Great empty the bench game, get a lot of guys experience. Great opportunity to continue to build that connection, I guess, between Lenoris Sellers and not just Nick Harbor, but all of his weapons on the outside. Get Rasul Faison comfortable at the running back. Just offensive line, I think, needs a bounce-back performance from what they did in the Virginia Tech game in week 1. Some young defensive guys. You can probably work on defensive depth. But you and I, again, both going South Carolina, no doubt. They're going to win this game. They're going to win big.
There's one thing I'm looking for in this game. Offensive line protection. Because of what was it on Sunday? Was it bad protection? Or was it Virginia Tech's got a good defensive line? Both could be very true. Both could be a little bit in the middle here. I just think personally, South Carolina does not have as bad as a defensive line as it looked on Sunday, but I want to see it look even more poised, more predictive. And by the way, I hate to disagree with you on this one, Chris. I think that Lenore Sellers, South Carolina, they know they got a Heisman Trophy caliber quarterback back there. This is what we call stat padding Saturdays. It's the one where you go on out, you let him throw for 340 and 5 touchdowns. So when he has a game against, say, Ole Miss, where it's only 129 passing yards, 80 rushing touchdowns, and 2 total scores, 89 rushing yards and 2 total touchdowns, you can make up for it by saying, hey, he still has 340 and 5 scores against South Carolina State. So the numbers are still boasting itself in a really good spot for the voters that truly do not care about the sport.
I guess we'll find out how badly Shane Beamer and company want to push the Heisman campaign. Yeah. Gamecocks will win, though, win big. We both are going South Carolina. Let's go down to Baton Rouge, LSU and Louisiana Tech. There was a time, Bear, where I think this would have been a really compelling game. I don't know about so much now. LSU's a 37.5-point favorite in this game. Obviously coming off the big win in week 1 against Clemson, snapping the streak, winning a season opener. I expect it to be a big party Saturday night in Baton Rouge. Admittedly, Bear, I think LSU fans are sort of on cloud 9 right now after the season opener. I think LSU wins. I think LSU takes care of the business. I wouldn't doubt that they cover. Big night for Garrett Nussmeier and company. And the LSU defense building off of what they did in week 1. Just
get there and play physical for 3 quarters and then start partying. Like, that's all I'm asking. Because the thing is, and the thing that I've always worried about for a lot of these teams, Tennessee, LSU, you're going to win your football game. But for us degenerates that want to throw a little bit of money down on some of these matchups, just show up. And also, make sure that you set the tone, because the last thing you want to do is get too big for your britches, and then you're going into the third quarter, and it's like, okay, it's a 10-point game. We know that we're good, but we made far too many critical mistakes. We put ourselves in a position where we can't be successful. You know that you're a better team than Louisiana Tech. Your backups are a better team than Louisiana Tech, at least on paper. But the problem is that you need to treat every single game and every single drive like one for the national championship. That's what makes teams that are built to go on a run in the postseason absolutely a daunting play during the regular season. So LSU, before you turn to your backups, before you let Michael Van Buren and the wide receiver 3s get on in, just make sure that you come out swinging. Like, that's all I want in this game, is that the same attitude that you faced off against Clemson, you faced off against Louisiana Tech.
Mississippi State, Arizona State in Starkville. Bear, Mississippi State fans I've seen on social media this week have a lot of confidence that Jeff Levy and the boys are going to get it done. Mississippi State, a 6.5-point underdog in this game. You can get them at plus 190 to win it straight up. You and I both are taking the over in this game. We think it's going to be a shootout, a lot of points. And we're both going with the Sun Devils. Admittedly, Bear, this is the game I probably feel the least confident in, because it does set up perfectly for an upset. You get them at home at night. Mississippi State's got a little bit of momentum, but I just got to see their defense come up in a big game and get some big stops before I can go out there and say, hey, they're going to go beat a team led by Sam Levitt at quarterback, led by Kenny Dillingham, the head coach, which he's been talked about a lot for some of the comments he's made. Apparently, he believes there aren't hotels in Starkville, which, I mean, I've been told.
Well, there's only apparently every 5 feet away a new casino that's being put up. A new casino.
It's been kind of weird. And I don't know if you saw the videos. They have like 10 people rattling cowbells at practice, because that's definitely a great simulation.
Because that's the way that they're going to do it down there for sure.
I was like, this is a great simulation for what they're going to get. But we're both going to Arizona State here, Bear. Again, I'm not changing my pick. I feel fine about it, but it is the pick of our pick I am the least confident in, if I'm being totally honest.
No, I feel very confident in the pick. I also feel very confident if you were to say, let's take a wild, wacky bet this weekend. Just one wacky bet on FanDuel with a player prop for a parlay. Arizona State to score 50-plus points at plus 800. It's weird. It's out there, but if there's anybody that I think that could give up 50 points in a game and still find a way to make it interesting, it's Coleman Hutzler's defense. I don't think it's going to happen. I'm not going to touch it, but if you are a sicko, FANDUEL.com/SECU, get $250 in bonus bets when you win your first $5 bet. If you play that bet, I'll give you the $5 myself because you are a bolder man than I am. Now, I think this game is really going to come down to the rushing attacks of the two teams. We saw more of what Davin Booth and Fluff Bothwell could be as a good complementary combination. And then you got to throw in Kyson Brown, who is going to be, I think, the lead back at this point for Arizona State. They do have Kanye Udo, the Army transfer. And you got the mobility of Sam Levitt, who really did be the bell cow of that entire offense against Northern Arizona and the Lumberjacks. He is going to have to make a lot of plays, I think, with his legs. Depending on how the offensive line sets up, he may have some design runs. He may be running outside the pocket just to keep momentum alive. There's a lot of things that I think are going to make this a back and forth battle. The ground game, whoever wins in yards after contact, and overall just yards per play, I think is going to be the one that comes out on top. I do think this is going to be at least a combined 80-point score game. I think that I said 38-34 was the final. I think it could be 41-38. I just have a lot of questions with both these defenses. I have a lot of questions with both these teams having the penalties that they had, because I bring it up in the preview. And it's right. Arizona State did have more penalties than Northern Arizona in their week 1 matchup. So bottom line is that Mississippi State could easily get them to reset, get off balance, 3rd and long because of a false start. Those are things that I think are going to bode well down at Davis Wade Stadium. But for me, it just comes down to I trust Sam Levitt a little bit more than Blake Shapen, and I trust Kenny Dillingham a little bit more than I trust Jeff Levy.
Over 50 points, Bear says, for Arizona State.
It would be a great bet.
Woo! Hey, it'd be a heck of a cash, but damn, we just lost all of our Hail State audience because I tell you what, Coleman Hutzler's right. Well, I don't know if he ever came off the hot seat, but he's right back on it if they give up 50 points to Arizona State, that's for sure. But then again, we saw it last year, so we'll see. Again, both of us going Sun Devils in that football game. Bear, let's go to the Plains. Auburn and Ball State doing battle on Saturday night. Auburn is a 43.5-point favorite, obviously coming off that big week 1 win at Baylor. You and I, of course, are both going with War Eagle. I would imagine Auburn will make the passing game maybe a bit of emphasis after week 1. Talking with our friend Mike Gittins over the War Report, he made it very clear Auburn didn't throw because they didn't have to throw. It wasn't because they couldn't throw. But I'd have to imagine after a week of hearing about the passing game, you got to think Hugh Freeze and company are going to want to go out there and air it out a little bit.
I never said that they can't throw the football. Never once if those words left my mouth, and I didn't believe it.
Well, I guess a lot of people out there did say that.
You didn't have to throw the football. That's fair. It still doesn't mean that I don't know if you can throw the football or what is the overall identity of the passing attack, and I want to see in this game. Now, this is a game that you probably will throw the football a lot more because Ball State gave up over 300 yards to a Purdue team that really has an anemic offense when you look at it on paper. So you should throw for a lot of yards in this game. You should feel good about the way your passing attack is going to be. I just hadn't seen it against Baylor. I think you will see in this game. I think the final score is going to be like 51-3. Like, I am all in on Auburn not only winning this game, but covering big. Like, I think that they are single-handedly going to have a shot of hitting the over by themselves.
Yeah, both of us taking Hugh Freeze and the Auburn Tigers, winning big. Bear, the game of the weekend and where the SEC Unfiltered Tour will plant its flag in week number 2, that being Norman, Oklahoma, the Oklahoma Sooners and the Michigan Wolverines. This one is going to be a dandy. Bear, Oklahoma's now down to a 5.5-point favorite. I already hammered them at 6.5. I might throw another bet on 5.5, but the spread at 5.5, over under set at 45.5. You and I both are going with Boomer Sooner. And as we talked about in the preview prediction video, if you haven't watched it, go check it out. It was a fantastic video. I thought we did a great job on that. John Mateer making big plays. Jaden Knott's return at the running back position. Yes, the offensive line must answer the bell, but I believe defensively it's Brent Venables' game plan against a young quarterback, young but talented quarterback in Bryce Underwood that makes the difference here. And Oklahoma at home at night, the Palace on the Prairie, as they call it, Bear, they score a big win on the home field.
For me, I look at this game between the two quarterbacks, and I will be completely honest. It is an unknown in different things. For Bryce Underwood, it's just an unknown in who he is as a player because we only have one set of games to go off of. And it was against New Mexico, and the film is phenomenal. He looks great in the game. The rest of the questions that you have around Michigan are probably a reason why we're talking about Oklahoma winning this game. For John Mateer, the entire question is, can you handle pressure going up against Power 4 competition? Can you handle going up against better defenses that are known for being able to scheme you into a position to where you can falter? You also being able to play against a really good mastermind in Wink Martindale that's going to send blitzes and force you to have to make quicker decisions that ultimately could lead to turnovers. Those are the differences in what we look for this game. But also, this could be a game where we look back and, I don't know, 3 months from now when we're talking about the college football playoff, and this is the moment where John Mateer said, I am leading Oklahoma to the postseason. This is the reason why you brought me in. This is the reason why I was a perfect fit. Or it's going to be the exact same thing for Bryce Underwood. If they win this game, Michigan moves back into the conversation, I think, of that number 4 team. Because we know who the big 3 are, but that 4 spot is kind of open. Nebraska, Illinois, Michigan, maybe Washington, USC is going to be in that play. It's a moment to where Michigan can firmly supplant itself and go, I am that X factor. I didn't go away. I took a 1-year hiatus. Just like we all thought Alabama was going to do, and we don't know if that's going to be the case anymore. But that's what we have down in Ann Arbor. My big thing is that it's a Brett Venables defense going up against a freshman quarterback in his first real road test against a first-time Power 4 program. The deck is stacked against Bryce Underwood in this game. But if he is a one-of-one quarterback, if he is a player that is truly years beyond his experience, he will make it a game. I just don't think he's there just yet. You give it 3 or 4 games, maybe he would. Game number 2 of the year, probably not. Oklahoma wins. And they cover.
Got to be a classic, no doubt. Cannot wait to experience that thing firsthand and get down there with all the great Sooners in Norman. Okay, let's go to Blacksburg, Virginia Tech and Vanderbilt. Diego Pavia is going to try to beat the Hokies again. Vandy is a plus 1.5 point underdog. Finally, you and I disagree on a pick because how dare I am doubting Diego Pavia and Clark Lee and the team that I called my home team, essentially living in Nashville. I'm doubting the doors. I'm going with Virginia Tech, and you, my friend, are going with Baba Yaga, Vanderbilt, to go into Lane Stadium at night and get the win.
I just trust the quarterback more. Like, that's all this comes down to. If you, the way that I felt about Diego Pavia is the way that I felt about many a team for a while. You give me him as my quarterback, I have a shot to get 8 wins. I do. And it's not because of, I think he is a more talented player. And it's not because of, I think that he has more attributes that stand on out. I just think it's the sheer will and mentality that he carries himself with that allows other players to step on up around him and rally to make sure that they don't let him down. That's the type of attitude that you need at programs like Virginia Tech to turn the corner. If last season Auburn had a guy like Diego Pavia, they wouldn't lose to Vanderbilt, and they probably would be sitting at 8-4. There's certain other programs surrounding the world of college football that absolutely, no questions asked, would be at least an 8-win team because of it's the attitude, it's the willingness, it's the willpower, it's the mentality, and it's the way that he carries himself as a player that just makes me want to run through a wall. That's why I root for Diego Pavia. That's why I think Vanderbilt wins this football game, because if I think that once again they realize this is a team that could use a quarterback, we got a quarterback that would probably beat us if we played against them.
And Bear, I think everything you say is valid, and for some reason I'm still going with the Hokies to find a way to get a game Brent Pry, simply put, has to have. So I want to be wrong. I hope I'm wrong.
You just want to piss off somebody in Nashville, didn't you? That was why.
That's it.
Exactly.
I am shunned from the West End in Nashville, no doubt. Final game, Bear, and one of the most compelling just because of how this week is gone and what happened in week 1. And I don't know if we're saving the best for last or the worst for last or the most compelling or the most interesting. I don't know what it is, but what I know it is it's Tuscaloosa, Alabama. It's the Alabama Crimson Tide taking on Louisiana Monroe. Alabama in this game is a 36.5-point favorite. And Bear, they could win this game by 136.5, and I don't know that it would remove any of the sting for Crimson Tide faithful for what happened in week 1. But, of course, you and I both going with Alabama. And I will say this, Bear. I will say this. I'm not as confident in Alabama covering their spread as I am, say, Texas. But I do think I just have to believe that Alabama comes out on Saturday night and rolls in this game. No pun intended. I have to think they do that, right? If they don't, we have much bigger, even bigger issues than we initially thought we did. Again, you and I both go in Crimson Tide, but the how it happens of this game, what is the level of intensity? What is the level of passion? What is the level of just give a damn? I think that's the thing that we're all watching for here.
Well, you also got to remember that it was announced earlier on Wednesday that Jeremiah Beeman is going to be out for the rest of the year on the defensive line during the coaches show with Kalen DeBoer. So it's another injury to an area that really looked beaten and bruised and did not have that physicality against Florida State. And it's Louisiana Monroe. So again, this is a game that usually Alabama rolls through. I need to see it at this point to guarantee you that it's going to happen. I do think that they are going to win this game, but you don't win these type of games. You set the tone in these type of games. So now we got to see London Simmons, the freshman, Isaiah Faga step on up, Edric Hill step on up. James Smith is still going to be a starter, but are you going to get someone else to kind of take over that role for what Beeman was on this defensive front? And that's something that either you just have or you don't because of mentality. The talent-wise, there are players there who were highly regarded coming out of high school, highly regarded in the recruiting cycles that were meant to be right alongside Beeman. But it's all about attitude at this standpoint, Chris. That's what I want to see. And I want to see the rest of the locker room act the way that we saw Xavier Brown act the way that that Jeremy Bernard acted, act the way that Ty Simpson carries himself, act the way that you look at several of the linebackers. You can even throw in maybe Damani Jackson, because even though he played undisciplined, he plays physical. Act that way against every opponent, because right now you're being doubted. And you're not being doubted in this game, but you are going to be doubted when you go up against Georgia. And you are going to be doubted when you play against Tennessee. And you are going to be doubted when you go travel to South Carolina. And when you face off against LSU. And when you face off against Auburn. You're an underdog in the Auburn game right now if you look at FanDuel's way too early odds. So start to earn back that respect. You're not going to earn back the trust that you have turned the corner and quite literally turned the tides back in your favor. But you can at least start earning the fact that this is the physicalness that was missing on Saturday. We knew it. We fixed the problem. We showed on up. And we made sure that that was the thing that we left back at Doak Campbell Stadium, and it wasn't following us for the rest of the year. Alabama wins this game. I think Alabama covers. But I'm still going to have my caution and hastiness when it comes to seeing it in person.
Hey, Bear, don't worry. Kalen DeBoer Wednesday night on his coach's show said that they are pissed off because of what happened on Saturday.
Well, thank God you are pissed. Now, how did you say it? Did you say it pissed off? Did you say it like Nick? Did you say
no?
It like
he
someone?
Laughed when he said it.
Well, we're like, yeah, buddy, we're
He's
pissed
like,
off.
We're pissed off, man. I'm like, oh my gosh, dude.
You can be pissed off. Show it, because you can't say it anymore.
I mean, try not to chuckle while you say it, Caleb. Anyways,
you know what? Actually, you know what? Take away his microphone the next time that he chuckles by making a joke when you're saying you're pissed or that you're angry. Just give him a 5-minute timeout. Dude, we're gonna make him media do laps. Like the media training stuff, we're gonna make you do laps with that stuff, Kalen. Act a little bit more intense. Act a little bit more stern. Maybe even just act like an asshole. That wouldn't be the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, Bama just needs to go out there and win a game and dominate it in doing so, because it has been a brutal week on social media, his pressers, just everything in between. Not great energy right now amongst the Bama fan base, but you can't blame them. So anyways, those are our picks, all 15 games of week 2. Bear, before we close out here, I'm curious. I talked about, for me, the Arizona State pick in the Mississippi State game is my least confident. Is there one for you, if you had to pick, least confident pick?
I mean, Virginia Tech is a good defensive line, and I do think that they have good wide receivers, and I do think that they can pressure Diego Pavia into making a lot of mistakes. And if Kyron Drones is able to utilize his legs in the open field and he doesn't throw into double coverage, I mean, I'm not saying that they beat South Carolina, but that game at least has a little bit more juice to it. Maybe you see a bit of a comeback at times. They couldn't find their way to the end zone. So, like, if you just finish drives and you're not settling for 3 points, I could easily see Virginia Tech winning this game. I could see Kansas holding its own on the road against Mizzou. I like this Kansas team. They're banged up. They're really banged up when it comes to the linebacker position. They're struggling a little bit on the offensive line. You got to be able, I think, get yourself a quality number 2 weapon opposite of Emmanuel Henderson. I want to know what you get in Daniel Highshaw, that secondary runner. But if like all those things click and you get the versatility and improvisation of Jalen Daniels, and depending on what we see from that Central Arkansas game versus now going up against a Power 4 opponent, I could see that being at least somewhat of an interesting battle. My pick is Vanderbilt, Virginia Tech, but because I do think that Mizzou's going to win this game, I think they're going to win by at least double digits. But I do think that this is going to be a very fun matchup because it's the border war, and we get it at a home and home location, which we had for a while before it went to Arrowhead just for a little bit.
So there you have it, guys. Again, all 15 games picked by yours truly and Mr. Bear Thompson himself. We'd love to hear from you. Do you agree with me? Do you agree with Cole? Agree or disagree with us in general? What are your picks for each and every single game in week 2 and thoughts on the week 2 slate in college football as a whole? Guys, that's going to do all for us. Appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. Before we get out of here, again, we talked a lot about our friends over at FanDuel. Tons of great odds, tons of opportunities to win and win big. Guys, FanDuel is getting you ready for the NFL season with an offer you won't want to miss. New customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right, pick a bet $5, and if it wins, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. You can build parlays, bet player props, ride the live lines. Whatever your style, FanDuel's got you covered. The NFL season's almost here. The only question is, are you ready to play? Visit FanDuel.com/SECU to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Once again, that's FanDuel.com/SECU to get in on the action today. Once again, guys, we appreciate each and every single one of you tuning in. As always, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on notifications, check us out via podcast. Wherever you get your podcast, you can also find us across all social media platforms as well as our website, secunfiltered.com. Till next time, I'm Chris Phillips. He's Cole the Bear Thompson. Make sure you stay tuned this weekend. Live game reactions to the biggest games coming from our friend Cole Thompson. And on Sunday, of course, the return of the overtime drive.
Friday night.
And Friday.
Happy hour. Make sure you go on over. It's very simple. If you haven't already, add SEC Unfiltered on Instagram. Make sure that also you hit the ring notification because we go live. We go for 20 minutes. Crack open a cold one, sit back, relax, enjoy ourselves and what we're going to do. And it's going to be really interesting this week because I think I am actually going to be going toward my wife's football game for school. So, yeah, we're going to be doing it right before we go into the stadium. It'll be fun. Maybe I think this is the week I got to go to one of her games. If it's not this week, it's in 2 weeks. Either way. Next week, though, we are doing the game live from the U of H game, which is going to be U of H versus Colorado. So that will be the Bear in his element out in H-Town, which will be a whole other experience. And we'll celebrate Big 12 football while also celebrating SEC football. So that's something you can look forward to next week. And if you are going to the U of H game and you love Houston, just make sure you go ahead and stop by, say hello. I'll be wearing an SEC Unfiltered hat.
And maybe, just maybe, yours truly hopping in that happy hour tomorrow as well. Or excuse me, Friday, I should say. Yeah, tomorrow as well. So anyways, yeah, just check that out. Again, make sure, like Bear said, you follow along on Instagram. You're following it everywhere. We got content bleeding out of the eyeballs truly between the happy hour, the live game reaction Saturday, and Sunday Fun Day, the overtime drive coming to you on Sunday night, recapping everything. So once again, guys, appreciate you all tuning in. Means the absolute world. Can't wait to see you all in Norman, Oklahoma for all of our Boomer Sooner folks this weekend. And again, stay tuned throughout the weekend. As always, I'm Chris Phillips. He's Cole the Bear Thompson. Appreciate each and every single one of you. Have a great weekend. Enjoy week number 2. And we will talk to you all on the other side.